Kia ora, welcome to the Guerin Report and welcome to Cup Week here in Christchurch. I'm sure you all loved the action we saw out of Riccarton to get the carnival rocking and rolling on Saturday. Tomorrow it moves here. Then we go Riccarton again, Greyhounds for the last ever New Zealand Greyhound Cup coming up on Thursday, back here for the slot races on Friday and back to Riccarton after all of that for their Cup Day in the 2000 Guineas. It is an incredible week, obviously. Tomorrow is going to be magic, but before we talk about that, we have to pay respect to one of the great Guineas performances out of Riccarton on Saturday. Well Written was absolutely dynamic. Well done to Stephen Marsh, to Matt Cartwright and to Dylan Johnson, who helped them find the horse and source it for the owners, which now includes Yulong. The big news coming out since you watched weigh-in yesterday morning, well, she's no certainty to head to the $1.5 million Karaka Million 3-year-old on January the 24th, because Stephen Marsh is thinking the best pathway to get him to the NZB Kiwi, which she's the dominant favourite for and has been offered multiple slots for, could be the Sistema Railway the same day. Once that news broke this morning, the TAB moved quickly. Well Written, 2.2 to win the Karaka Million 3-year-old, now $4 equal favourite against the horse she's so much like, Alabama Lass, for the Sistema Railway. The good news is, of course, you can back her in either. If she doesn't get nominated for said race, you do get your money back. But she is one out of the box, our summer sweetheart. Well Written. There could be potentially better horses here tomorrow, because as good as she is, there's a champion as the favourite for the New Zealand Cup. His name is Leap to Fame. He's won 2 Inter-Dominions. He's won almost every race that matters in Australia, the Miracle Mile, and he won the race by Betcha back at Cambridge in April. Different test here tomorrow. He needs to handle the standing start. He's only had 2. And he needs to cop 3,200 metres and that condensed front line and a bunch of really in-form locals. Don't get me wrong, he's the best horse, and Grant Dixon's been very cunning, his trainer. He sought out the Addington officials and said, I want box 1. That's right at the front of the stabling area here at Addington. He can move in there and come on track at 20 past 2, because he's a colt, he's a stallion, he gets up and about, he likes the girls. What he wants to do is less distraction, away from all the hubbub, away from all the noise. He'll be in box 1, way down the back, and that's where they'll keep him away from everybody until he needs to walk out onto the track as your $1.60 favourite. That market sees Republican Party around 4.6. I think he's going to drift. I think he'll get out to about 5.5. He is a clear danger, and maybe this New Zealand Cup will come down to whether his driver, Carter Dalgety, if he's able to lead, would hand the lead to Leap to Fame. If he does, the Queenslander should be winning. If he doesn't, it's race on for the IRT New Zealand Cup. The other Group 1 for the open class horses tomorrow is the Renwick Farms Dominion Handicap Trot. 4 Australians up against horses you know well, Muscle Mountain, Oscar Bonavina, those type of horses. I like one in this. RC Phoenix is the Inter-Dominion champion. Bizarrely, he's paying $9. He's a great each-way chance because there are some doubts over the standing start ability of Jillaby Ballerini. So we'll go RC Phoenix on top in the trot. Also a Group 1 for the 2-year-olds. Very special pacer there called Jamal. And in the 3-year-old fillies, we have our Arafura as our favourite. She'll be driven by Mark Purdon. Now, it's impossible to talk about Cup Week in Christchurch without talking about Mark Purdon, so we have made him our big interview on the Guerin Report this week. He's won many New Zealand Cups. He once won 7 races on New Zealand Cup Day here before, and he's won every race that matters in Australasia. What he hasn't done is very often spoken, as you're going to see him speak tonight, about his personal life, about his disqualification from racing about 20 years ago, and about growing up as Mark Purdon. Probably the most overused term in world sport or world racing these days is GOAT, greatest of all time. It's so overused, it's usually nonsense. In this case, it's not. Let's talk to the best there's ever been in this part of the world. We'll start out by asking Mark Purdon what New Zealand Cup Day means to him. Well, Mark, the New Zealand Cup is upon us again. Is it still the race for you?
It is, Mick, yeah, and I think for most of the professional horsemen that's represented on the day, I think everyone wants to be part of New Zealand Cup Day.
Okay, why is it different than, say, a normal meeting? I know there's a lot more people here, but it can't just be about that. For you, why is it different?
Well, yeah, the atmosphere, the people bring the atmosphere, of course, and it's the greatest crowd assembled in a race day in harness racing through our calendar year. And, you know, the stakes are high, and of course the New Zealand Cup is the race that everyone really wants to win.
We're here on the track at Addington, the spiritual home of harness racing in New Zealand. Is it quite cool when you're warming up a horse here in front of that sort of crowd? Because you can feel the energy in the crowd. Can you feel the energy when you're out on the track?
Yes, you can, and you know, there's certain parts of the track, if there's a move made by a favoured runner and there's a roar of the crowd, you know, it really puts a tingle up your spine.
Talking about spines and nerves, I imagine after everything you've done in your career, you don't get nervous very often, but do you find yourself the night before or the morning of Cup Day feeling a little bit more awake, a little bit more, maybe nervous is the wrong word, but excited?
Yes, no, definitely the morning of, certainly have those butterflies, and by the time you get to the track and you know, they start the first race and that, and you're talking to people, they go, but I'm usually on edge the morning of the race.
Do you ever get moody on edge? 'Cause I haven't seen you moody before. Do you just not like talking to people? How does on edge feel?
You just like everything to go right, and I'd probably snap if something went wrong, but generally I'm not one to do that, but you know, just inside you.
You are from New Zealand's most famous harness racing family. What's your first memories of a New Zealand Cup? Because your older brother Barry had horses in them. Of course, your dad Roy had horses in them. So what's the first time you can remember it being a big day?
It was a day that we always watched, but the first race that I can remember clearly was in 1977, and Sole Command was handled by Pt.1 for Dad and Barry. That was the first year Barry joined forces with Dad in the training ranks, and he was given a beautiful run by Peter on the day to win the Cup.
Rangers Palestine the inside, Belgovy starting to stop, and Sole Command gets up and heads him off. Wider out Greg Robinson, Sole Command and Greg Robinson, they go to the line, but Sole Command will win the Cup from Greg Robinson, and we win coming home well. Belgo fourth, Stanley Rio fifth, Palestine and in or out.
Yeah, I came back from school and with a friend of mine, Brent Lewis, and his father actually worked for Max Robinson. And it was ironic that the two of them fought the finish out, Sole Command on top and Greg Robinson second.
How old would you have been then, and did you sort of realise it was that big a deal?
12 or 13 at that stage, but no, I didn't really know what Cup Day was truly like.
Growing up as a Purdon, obviously son of Roy, brother of Mark and brother of Barry and Owen, and of course Suzanne, who's married to Tony Hurley, so there's a lot of different moving parts to this. Did you ever think about doing something else as a career away from harness racing? Did you ever think you wanted to be a lawyer or a builder or something which didn't involve sitting in a sulky?
Certainly wasn't smart enough to be a lawyer. But no, I never had any plans to do anything else. I was keen to leave school as soon as I could, and loved the horses and wanted to follow Dad and Barry.
What about driving? Because I remember, and I'm only a very amateur, the first time you sit in a sulky behind a horse, it's a pretty amazing feeling. Was it something you instantly felt the drug of?
I certainly enjoyed driving the horses, yeah, in training. And there's nothing better than sitting behind a good horse.
So when would you have first driven one in fast work? How old would you have been?
Oh, probably 13 or 14, I would think. It would have been a quiet one.
Yeah. Do you think you were a natural? Or they tell me some people, like when I looked at a young Dexter Dunn, I thought, okay, he's a natural. I think he was probably only 17 years old. Did you feel like that was something you took to pretty quickly?
Well, not a natural under race day circumstances, but I felt comfortable in the cart, and horses responded well to me. So
why not a natural under race day circumstances?
Well, I think there was a lot of gifted young drivers. If you look at, Maurice McHenry and Tony Hurley, who were gifted. I wasn't gifted like they were at a young age, but I got better as I got older.
Brothers are still brothers. Was there any competition between you and Barry and Owen? Because I think most guys who play cricket or rugby with their brother, they want to be the best.
Not that I can remember, Mick. No, I think...
Was it a big team effort?
It was, yeah, and Dad led the way, but Peter Wolfner was the #1 driver, and along the way, Barry was the oldest, and he got the opportunities first, and Owen was second, and I was last. So I don't remember sort of any competitiveness. So I think we just waited our turn, and.
What was your dad like as a trainer? What did he instill in you boys, and Tony, because he worked there as well, about training horses? Because he always seemed a very gentle sort of guy, but it's a hard man's game.
Yeah, no, he was a gentle guy, loved his horses and always looked after them well, fed them well. I think he would have been a good galloping trainer too, because he liked to have them feeling good. And he often, with young horses, it really suited them. And but he was a great trainer right across the board.
Seems a long time ago now, but in 1991, you won the Inter-Dominion final with Mark Hanover, beating stablemate Christopher Vance and your brother-in-law Tony Hurley. Did you realise at the time how hard that was to do and what a big deal it was?
Not at the time, but because the Inter-Dominion had brought together the best from New Zealand and Australia, and it's a hard race to win when the best come together like that. And there's 3 heats in a week leading into it. So you've got to be consistent through the heats to make the final.
You still must have been 25 or 26 when that happened, so it's still quite a big deal, because lots of people go their entire careers and never win Inter-Dominion. Obviously you've won more, but to win it in your mid-20s is probably something which not many people get a chance to do.
No, I think Chris Lewis might have been the youngest to win it. I'm not sure if that still stands today, but I think he was about 20 at the time.
Once that kicked off, that's when I sort of remember you becoming not just one of the Purdons, but one of the very good Purdons, and your career seemed to kick off. And then I think the thing that stunned everybody the most, Mark, was in 2000, and you got up, left Auckland and moved to Canterbury. Why?
Probably life had changed a little bit, Mick. Married and 2 boys, and we'd really grown. We'd owned the place in Ardmore there with Tony and Suzanne, and had a lot of horses on our books, and it was a good move. Become friendly with John Seaton at that time, and then the property, he put the property to me, and I'd always enjoyed Christchurch. I loved Christchurch in the early.
Why is that?
Well, in the early days when I came down with horses, we stayed with Jeff and Tracy Whitaker, and that was great for the big meetings, and then stayed with Jim Dalgetty on occasions, and then Neil Pilcher had set up a place as well, and we'd stayed out there on occasions too. So I'd been down many times, and I just loved Christchurch.
How did it go when you told Dad or even Barry and Tony you were moving to Christchurch? I can imagine there was the odd humorous comment along the way.
Well, there could have been. I think Dad was a little disappointed to start with, but because he was part of the barn there in Ardmore too, and although retired, he was still active, and yeah, so I think he was a little disappointed.
Hey, I got the same thing from my dad when I left Greymouth, Mark. Sometimes you just have to leave the nest. When you got down here, it seemed that after a little bit of settling in, the brand just got bigger, and particularly when you moved to Rolleston, some of the results during the height of that period are just incredible. Like at one stage, I think you won almost every major Group 1 race in Australasia that you contested. Do you ever look back now and think how crazy those results were and how crazy hard you must have been working to achieve all that?
Yes, for sure. We started off on Rusty Road there, and came down with good success in the early years. But when we went to Rolleston and we set it up from scratch, and it was really a state-of-the-art establishment, but the horses went to another level when we went there, and of course, along the way, you know, Natalie joined forces with me, and she was a great partner and brought a lot to the training side, or gave me the opportunity to concentrate on the training. She was smart in a lot of areas, Natalie, and it really, you know, she was a big part of our success.
Did you train them differently than you would have 10, 15 years earlier back up home?
Not so much differently, but I probably spent more time on individuals that needed the time, and that's when Natalie freed me up just to focus solely on the training.
You got dragged into one of the dark times in New Zealand harness racing. It's sort of known as the Blue Magic saga, and we won't go into it because there's people involved in that who are no longer with us. But what did you learn from that experience? You got disqualified for 4 months. What did you learn as Mark Purdon, as a man, as a horse person, about going through that, when you went through that process?
Look, it was just a silly mistake I shouldn't have done, and you know, you regret it, but a lot of it could have been handled differently too by a controlling body, Mick, and you know, certainly I was bitter at the end of it because of the ramifications of what happened to two people involved.
And then you come back. I've spoken to people before who have been disqualified, and I'm open about it. I've been fired from jobs I loved as well. Do you come back reinforced, wanting to be more successful once you get that bitter taste out of your mouth? Because you find, Mark, no one cares if you're bitter. All they care about your results.
That's right, and I think I came back and it was business as usual. I was professional about my conduct and the way I went on.
We've been through some similar stuff in harness racing in the last 5 years, which didn't involve you at all. But what's your advice to, there's be young trainers watching this who love Mark Purdon. They revere Mark Purdon. If you do get put in a situation where somebody might compromise your integrity, what do you say to those youngsters out there now who get put in that position, or someone tries to put them in that position?
Yeah, well, you've just got to keep your nose clean, and if you've got any concerns, consult your vet if there's anything you're rubbing on or administering orally without a label. You know, just consult your vet and make sure you know what you're using.
It must be bloody confusing. Look, I have a minuscule understanding of horse drugs and withholding times, Mark, and gee, it looks messy. It must be so easy if you don't understand all these things for a vet to say, put this in, and it can go into a horse and you can be wrong by 3 hours. I would be terrified as a trainer that one day I was going to get a positive for something I had nothing to do with. Is that a reality of being a trainer in the modern world?
Yeah, we've always been methodical about withhold times, and we extend them. So if we're using something that has a 72-hour, 3-day withhold, we generally go 4 days, and just try and you sleep a lot better that way. Yeah.
You talk about sleeping and pressure and work. You've had a couple of voluntary breaks. One was involuntary, but you've also taken breaks away from harness racing. Why have you done that, and what did you enjoy about not being in the daily grind?
I think when we took the 12-month sabbatical, it didn't end up 12 months, but that was our intention, and it was just, we'd gone so hard for so long, and the pressure was just getting to us both, and it was an appropriate thing to do.
Was it strange not getting up every morning and working horses? Because it is and can be a 365-day-a-year job.
Yeah, no, it wasn't really. I'm not sure how the days seemed to go by so quickly, but maybe we
What did you do?
Well, maybe rested a lot, but yeah.
Did you find when you took a break, because you did take that, what wasn't a year sabbatical, did you find you didn't realise how tired you were until you took the break?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
These days, the business, which is you and Nathan, and you've obviously based Matamata, Morrinsville, Pukekohe, and you have a bit of help from a guy you're mates with now, and Tony Shaw. Does it feel even though market's got to make money, that it's more based around family, and a lot of your owners seem like they're friends of yours? Is it based around making money but still enjoying the process now more, say, than 10 years ago when you, I don't know, had 70 or 80 horses a week?
Yes, well, certainly for me, it's more about the enjoyment. Yeah, much more.
This week, Cup Week, you could have two massive Group 1 chances away from the younger horses. Akuta as a Cup horse and Oscar Bonavina as a Dominion horse. And I'm sure they're both stories which mean a lot to you for different reasons. First of all, Akuta, a horse we probably thought we may not see again. Tony Shaw's a guy who we probably thought may not drive horses again, and these two old beaten up individuals seem to be doing a pretty good job for you.
That's one way of putting it, mate. Yeah.
It's true.
But, yeah, you know, like Akuta, just a freak accident where he came through with a back leg and he split the tendon. And, you know, Barbara did the first scan on him and said, look, 90-10 against him ever making a racetrack again. And,
did you think at that stage just put him in the paddock, forget about him?
He was just too good a horse, and you know, I'm an optimist like that, and I said, look, why don't we give him 3 months? You form a program for him that you want him to do, and we'll give him 3 months and rescan him, and that was a start from that 3-month point that things were looking positive, although still a long way to go. The scan was positive that it was mending the right way.
It must have been very satisfying to see him come back, because he looks a lovely horse, big, strong boy, and you know he tries hard. It must have been lovely to have a spring where he's been able to achieve things and have Tony involved.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he was a star. You know, a great run in the Jewels and winning the Derby here were two of his greatest performances, and an Auckland Cup. But from the time we had the injury, well, Tony just went above and beyond in the process of making sure everything was done right, and you know, it was a credit to him, because it's tough to get them back, but it was a credit to him that he got back. Not
many horses in the country are so famous, almost like Brazilian soccer players, they just get one name. But Oscar Bonavina just gets called Oscar. Everybody loves Oscar, he does amazing things. He must be an incredible horse to be around when he's right and he sets sail like that, because as we saw at Motukarara that day, it's almost spellbinding to watch. I saw the joy in your face from being there and driving him.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for a dead set champion. This is a monstrous win. Oscar Bonavina and Mark Purdon. You never see the salute either. That is a stunning win. Yeah, he's a special horse. You know, last season we took the opportunity to serve mares with him, and he's just so intelligent that he knows his role. When you walk on the racetrack, he knows what he's there for. When you take him to collect, he knows what he's doing. And he's just a pleasure to work with. A very special horse.
With a horse like him, because he is intelligent and he does have the occasional soundness issues, would that be the reason he might look after himself sometimes? Because sometimes Oscar explodes and other time Oscar seems like he's looking after himself.
Yeah. Look, he's got that tendency. Like he's let us down in a number of big races, but he's put his hand up too in a number of big races, and he's won over $1 million, so that speaks for himself.
You mentioned Barb, and Barb is your fiancée, a great addition to the harness racing community. Everybody seems to love her. You seem happy. You're going into a time of the year where you've got your son in partnership with you, you've got nice horses but not too many. How does Mark Purdon feel about this phase of his harness racing life and life in general?
Yeah, well, I'm very happy, and Barb and I are very compatible, you know. I'm looking forward to next year when we get married. So
I've got to ask you, because I ask anybody this question, did you get down on one knee to propose?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Were you nervous?
Well, I think that's how it happened. I stumbled.
And you obviously got the right result.
Yes, I did, yes.
It must be interesting having a vet for a fiancée and soon-to-be wife. I mean, any discounts? No discounts?
No,
free advice?
I get looked after, don't worry, yes.
But you seem in a good place. Is it Are you at that stage of your life? If I said to you now, do you want to train 80 horses, does that sound totally insane now?
Oh, you're totally insane, yes, I'd never want to do that. And I'm just enjoying my role at the moment. Nathan's taking more of the responsibility and I'm just enjoying my role and enjoying the driving. Yeah.
What would it mean to win a cup? There's going to be a very strong cup this week. What would it mean to win another cup? Would it almost, because I know you've got plenty more time to go, but it would almost be a big exclamation point on what's been an incredible story?
It certainly would. If leaps of fame's coming, I'm not getting my hopes up, but we're there with a great chance.
Wonderful insight into Mark Purdon, the man, Mark Purdon, the family man, and Mark Purdon, the trainer there. Part 2 next week, we'll talk the horsey stuff about his best horses and try and get some training advice from him. One of our other stars, this time an equine one, of a different code, is Chow Wolf. He's a horse we love here on the Guerin Report. Of course, his little brother Mickey G is heading to the sales at Karaka in January to be sold as a yearling. Well, Chow Wolf was sold through the Ready to Run sales and he put an exclamation mark on the spring form of those sales. When you think of Mr. Brightside and Tino, Gringotts, well, he went to Melbourne on Saturday in the mud and won the Champions Mile in impressive style. This is the sort of horse they'll be selling at the Ready to Runs at Karaka on Wednesday.
Pride of Jenny Hart up against the fence and Treasure the Moment there together. 300 metres to go. It is stamina sapping. Then came Chow Wolf joining in and Pericles under the arches. Pericles takes the lead at the 200 metres. Going with a Chow Wolf. Pericles at the 100. Chow Wolf won't give in. Pericles, Chow Wolf coming back. Chow Wolf off the canvas and Pericles. Chow Wolf. Chow Wolf or Pericles in a photo. It's going to be a photo finish and they were followed by Steffi Magnetica.
That finish, try and pick it with your naked eyes. We have a look at the slow-mo and inside, look out. Chow Wolf, simply brilliant.
Selling for the Ready to Runs 2 days, starts at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, 10 a.m. on Thursday. Great catalogue. Head to nzb.co.nz for more information there. Around 352-year-olds going through the ring. Who is going to be the next Chow Wolf? And we will be following his little brother, little Mickey G, as he gets bigger and heads to Karaka come January. I hope you love what happens this week in Christchurch. It's just going to be magical. Trackside has action for you every day. It kicks off tomorrow morning on Tuesday morning at 11:30. Enjoy New Zealand Trotting Cup Day. Enjoy everything this wonderful week has to offer. We'll be talking to you on the Guerin Report at 8 p.m. next Monday.